How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Blue Shifting and welcome back to Chaos Head. Last time was cool. We got to have like a sit-down conversation and actually talk about some stuff. Sena actually elected to give information. She revealed a few things, so she carries her sword around, and like it really feels really apparent that no one else can see the sword except they might have the capability of seeing errors, like is what Sena was calling them, glitches in the matrix. She kind of was leaning on this idea that like the world is a mirage, that most of our senses are focused on our sight, and that everything we perceive visually, auditorily, texturally, it's all just electrical signals interpreted by the brain, that they could be simulated, they might not be real. We feel it's real because it's what our brains are telling us and what we're communicating, but it's not necessarily true, aka, the Matrix. And errors are glitches in the simulation. The sword seemed to have a part of it, but she was able to create one, the chain that led to her, that she kind of used to bait him into the room, to kind of like as a test, because he seemed unwilling to admit that he saw things. So she kind of drew it out of him by force, and then kind of explained her position on it. And it's interesting, like, we still don't know her goals, I still don't know how the world works per se, but like finally having concrete answers a bit about the more metaphysical side of it and like the theories around it was really nice to have. So I'm feeling good about that. Yeah, I don't know what we should expect for this part, honestly. I'm not sure what direction it's going to go in, though we have the new really quiet girl who, like, honestly, she seems like a mirror of Takumi, like, where she, like, seems unable to talk to people. She's really small and shy, doesn't want to, like, involve herself, but she, like, gave out band-aids to people in class, and, like, it was interesting. So I hope we get to see more about her, just because right now she's just such an enigma. But yeah, so far the best characters are Rimi and Sena, because I feel like they're actually, so far we're seeing them contribute to the story a lot more. Yua was interesting, but we haven't heard from her in ages, so I'm not sure when she's going to be dancing back into the scene of things, but I imagine she will be. Anyway. Alright, I think that's pretty much everything recap-wise. Let's jump right into it and see what crazy internet advice we're going to get today. So, let's get started. So yeah, that's how I ended up getting tangled up with an IRL chuny chick. Okay, a-hole. This time you have pissed me off. Seriously, Lord Nerdheart? You're always saying crap like, oh, I don't give a crap about 3D, but you've been getting real nice and close with a bunch of 3D girls recently, haven't you? You even said earlier that one of them broke into your house. I don't care who you ask. That's straight out of Eroge. You've plunged straight into your once-in-a-lifetime chance to be popular. Alright, listen, well, I still think there's a decent chance Grim is his friend from school. I'm pretty sure that's what's going on here. I'll admit I have indeed amassed quite a number of opportunities to speak to cute females. That's true, they're all pretty cute. However, every single IRL one is a fetching mental case. I know what this is, but a person whose words and actions are very clearly born from insanity. You try being the receiving end of their brain-melting Denpa attacks. The sheer scale of schizo, it's legitimately horrifying, sure. Okay, I truly am sorry. So much sass. Don't worry about it. Even after I'd gotten back home, I'd still been somewhat interested in what Sena had told me. Of course, I didn't think that what she said was true, but I was pretty sure I'd be able to confirm it for myself if I did a little bit of research into the patent and the memoriam specifically. So, with Grimm's help, I started searching the internet. I also was able to get one of Grimm's friends who lived in America to help out as well. But even with all that help, I still didn't think we were going to find anything. In this day and age, you couldn't trust anyone without a source. Still true, but now the sources can be faked really well. Shiho was the friend of Grimm that I'd mentioned earlier. He lived in America, spoke fluent English. Shiho. That name's familiar, but I think that's just from a different game or something. Anyway, just got a message from Shiho. That's what Grimm said. Yeah. Let me guess. BS, right? That stupid fetching mental case. She had to have been making a fool out of me just because she didn't think I could understand English. Don't underestimate the power of the internet. Consider yourself pawned. It exists, apparently. Like, his assumption here is just like, oh, just complete garbage, right? Whatever, man. Brush. It exists. It exists? What did... The guy went out of his way to TL it for us. Anyway, let me up it. True life? Is TL supposed to be true life it? Is it just more B8? More bait? Man, you don't trust me at all, do you, Lamal? Although that's probably my fault for being a butt most of the time. Okay, how about I invite Shiho instead? I've been tricked by Grim several times in the past. If I trusted him like I usually did, he'd hit me with something so bad it'd make my brain blue screen. But he was saying that he was going to invite Shiho and that he even had a source for us. If this is just you baiting me again, I'll kick you out of the guild. Okay, just try to do this once, bro. He was being surprisingly confident. Maybe it really was okay for him to trust him this time? Yeah, you're too curious, but I get it. Slightly nervous, I squinted my eyes halfway shut to protect myself from seeing anything too quickly or clearly, and then I clicked the link.
No.
Oh, that looks familiar. Yeah, isn't this is from, I might be crazy, right? But isn't this the schematic that we see in Steins Gate? It is the technology. Yeah. We have Victor Crowdy University Psychology Lab. Yeah, this is the same tech. Oh, that's really weird to see. And I mean, it makes sense. They're supposed to be in a shared universe, but it's weird seeing it be that strongly connected. Cell phones operate by converting voice. Yeah. That's so funny. Oh, that's weird. It was a document written in English with a bunch of strange diagrams on the lower half. Part of it looked like a human face. The headline read, United States Patent. I knew that much at least. In other words, this was...
America no Tokyo.
VR 技術を知っているか？すでに実際にテストは成功している。ある研究チームが特許を取得済みだ。
Yep. Could have Sue's in there somewhere. Behind this, like, plan. Like, if we saw the study, it'd probably have her name in it. It was real. I then went to open one of the 2 text files that had come bundled with it. One of them had a series of news articles that seemed to mention the patient, all of which were translated into Japanese. The patent, sorry. Not the patient. One said that Psychophysiological Research Laboratory in America's Victor Crowdy University was currently researching the groundbreaking invention known as VR visual rebuilding. As the goal of the research was primarily for healthcare, it had been gaining attention of virtually impaired people from all over the world. Visually impaired. It was groundbreaking technology that enabled people who were blind from birth to see the scenery in front of them through video cameras and other imagery devices. To put it simply, this was done by converting signals, the ones that compose the image data the video camera received, into the only signal the brain could recognize, electrical signals known as nerve impulses. These are then transported to the brain via the optic nerve. They had already been successful tests, and the patients had been registered.
Tokyo. 本当に認められてる。
So does that mean that what Sena had said wasn't just some puny delusion? Well, here's the thing: if it's an official patent, he can confirm this. Records at patent offices are accessible. Now it would be challenging because if it's an American patent, he might not have easy access to that site, which is why he's being sent these files. But he could probably find a way to corroborate and see for himself that yes, this is a legitimate patent that is legitimately filed with a legitimate government. I gulped, then went straight to open the other text file. I began reading. Presidential Documents Memoriam of March 27, 1997. Strengthened protections for human subjects of classified research. The agency shall jointly propose to prohibit the waiver of informed consent for classified research, part of it said. Oh, so he's saying so Yeah, informed consent. To agree to any form of contract under the condition of being provided the correct information. In Japan, it's primarily used in the medical field. A physician explains the treatment to the patient truthfully, in detail, in an easily understood manner. This includes the definition of treatment, as well as the side effects, success rate, risk, cost, alternative treatments, etc. Once the patient fully understands these, they're able to provide consent. So what they're saying here is that if you're performing experimental technology, like stuff that you were trying to keep secret, but you need human testers, they used to waive that informed consent, and they made a law in 1997 or 97 saying, hey, you can't just waive that right. Beginning 1 year after the date of this memoriam, no agency shall conduct the support classified human research without having promulgated the common rule, said another. The document was then signed at the bottom by William J. Clinton and closed with the White House, Washington, March 27, 1997. William J. Clinton. Perfectly distinct. A memoriam from the President of the United States. A memorandum, sorry. Memorandum. Gosh, I'm just struggling tonight. The concept sounded like the premise to a movie or something, so I never would have thought it was actually real. I went to check the original document via the URL. Even I could read English for the most part, despite how I might have looked. I was a lot smarter than those GQNs that I went to school every day. The actual contents written in the document were the same as the translated text.
ということは
Sena's words echoed in the back of my mind.
ある意図的な情報を神経パルスへコンバートすることが可能なら
Yeah.
人の五感すべてさらには人の意志そのものもコントロールできるんじゃないか
Which they say it's interesting because, like, what Sena's proposing is happening, or potentially happening, is that a technology that's relatively new has been perfected to such level secretly that it could then completely control reality. So unless the simulation is discovering, the people in the simulation are discovering the foundational information of how the simulation would work, I'm not sure I could believe it, but it's interesting. It was starting to get somewhat difficult to understand at this point, but what Sena was told me, combined with the sources we'd found online that backed her up, it all sent a chill down my spine. I had a feeling that something terrible was lurking within. But what confused me the most was what Sena's true intentions were in telling me all this. Did it have anything to do with me? The part about being able to control people's free will definitely wasn't something I could dismiss as somebody else's problem, because there was the possibility that I was a sleepwalker. On the day of the third NewGen incident, the crucifixion, I had been told that I'd been posting in a chat room as Shogun. Apparently I'd posted from @cafe too, but I had no memory of any of it. And not only that, but I had absolutely no memory of Rimi, who had been my classmate for over a year. We'd been close enough to hang out on multiple occasions, yet I had no memory of any of it. Maybe I had done all of those things while I was being manipulated by some other being. Besides, I was terrible at talking to 3D girls to begin with, so there was no way I would be close to a cute girl like Rimi normally. No, I was thinking too hard about this. No, dude, I think you're on the right track. Think about it. At the very least, I knew that the chat thing was just one of Yua's delusions. Shogun was a separate entity from me. He was trying to entrap me, and it didn't go beyond that time. This was true regardless of whether or not he had actually been the old man in the wheelchair that had appeared in front of 107. Maybe Sena, too, was one of Shogun's underlings. Maybe she was just trying to deceive me. It's funny how, like, that's the line he always takes. He assumes everyone's out to get to him, that everything's a lie. If it's something that he has struggles to believe or accept, he just assumes everyone's lying. It's gonna be difficult to work with, buddy. Don't just blindly accept everything without questioning it. Don't trust a suspicious girl that you don't actually know. Sena and you are both the same breed. No, see, that's the problem. He's right. Doubt everything. Even Sena told you, doubt everything. Don't assume it. But she invited you to do what I think is important. She invited you to investigate, to search out answers, to test theories, and to try and figure out what the truth is. Our boy seems to just want to be like, nope, blinders up. I don't care. Don't bother me. He just wants to deny it. Doesn't want to investigate. That's dangerous. That's how it should go, right, Sarah Tap? Oh, he's jumping right to a delusion, apparently. Oh, no, it's Yua. Hello. The only sound present in the room was the distinct clack of the keyboard. Kisunoki Yua's thin, supple fingers moved as though they were dancing, her gaze fixed on the monitor all the while. Her touch typing was effortless as she made the next to no typos. She was writing an email. A very long one at that. You had already been writing for almost half an hour, endlessly deliberating over the contents of the email and making frequent revisions as she continued to type. Suddenly, her fingers stopped moving. With a small, pained sigh, she abruptly pressed on and held down the backspace key. The cursor that was lit up on the monitor began scrolling leftward at high speed. All the long sentences she'd written so far disappeared nearly instantaneously as the cursor traveled across the screen. When all the contents had been erased, Yua took hold of the Garo froggy stuffed animal lying on her bed and hugged it tightly to her chest. This was a habit that Yua had developed recently. If she did not hug something this way, she'd be faced with unbearable anxiety. Recently developed, huh? Burying her chin in the stuffed animal, Yua sighed once again and shook her head softly.
私に勇気をください。
What is she trying to do? I wonder if she's trying to contact our guy. Like, but why? What is she trying to say? Murmuring softly to no one in particular, Yua's expression stiffened. With the stuffed animal resting on her lap, she returned her hands to the keyboard. Within the monitor, each letter she typed in a fluid manner was quickly displayed in sequence. Compared to the one she had erased just moments before, this email is far more short and simple. It only served to provide the bare necessities of what she needed to convey. When she finished writing, Yua hesitated for a moment, then she resolutely clicked the send icon.
送っちゃった。
Yep, now you can't take it back. Before she could stop it from going through, the email had already been sent in the blink of an eye. Yua squeezed her Garo froggy sitting on her lap tightly and continued to stare at the monitor in front of her for over an hour. Although she had not been expecting one, there was no sign of a reply at all. There I was in my beloved room 37 as I sank down in the recliner. I started chewing on my nails in an attempt to distract myself from my irritation. There was a reason why I'd come to At Cafe 2 days in a row, yesterday and today. 2 nights ago, after Grim, Shiho, and I had found out that what Sena had said was true, I'd received an email from Yua. It was from her, okay. And she'd innocently said she wanted to talk to me one more time. Fetch off, I wanted to tell her. What the heck did she mean, wanted to talk, after deceiving me like that? I had nothing to say to her. Even if I did, she'd probably just come up with some new fancy way to trap me when I went to see her, as if I could risk that. It was true that I wasn't used to talking to girls. That's why I'd been so happy back when Yua was hitting on me. And yet, the harlot had been toying with me behind my back. And on top of that, she'd come up with all those insane delusions. Even I had delusions, sure, but I never bothered anyone else with them. But that girl assaulted me with her schizo BS and treated me like I was the NewGen culprit. I could never forgive what she'd done to me, never. So I ignored the email, but there had still been one thing that concerned me. In her email, she said that she's going to come to my base, and I knew for a fact that she knew my address. That was why I decided to take refuge in that cafe, despite not being at school today. If I had an option, I would have bought my D-sword as a protection charm, but unlike Sena, I didn't have the courage to walk down Center Guy with it. At any rate, spending almost half a day in an internet cafe was fairly tiring. I'm sure. Exhaustive. The recliners were comfortable and it was equipped with showers, but I still couldn't fully relax like I could at my base. And then the biggest problem of all, Saratan wasn't here. After 2 days spent holed up in the cafe, I realized just how much my mere presence of Saratan helped me. I wanted to hurry up and get back to my base as soon as possible. But going back late at night would mean the date would change. And by that time, the last train would already be long gone. I figured that Yua most likely wouldn't be waiting for me anymore by then. I had to stick around for another 4 hours before the clock would strike midnight. I was sure time would go by a lot faster if I played ESO. I moved my gaze over to the PC monitor. My second character, Lizalot, was standing there aimlessly, not moving.
お前の見ている景色は本物か?
Sena's words came to mind. More than half of what she said was true. The only thing I couldn't find the source for was the part where she was talking about controlling even people's wills and bodies. Maybe that part was just a delusion of hers. Mixing in just a few lines with the truth was a clever and effective way to scare people, especially with threats. Even though my reasonable side knew all that, I couldn't help but feel scared as I thought about all the strange, inexplicable phenomena that had been plaguing me over the past few weeks. In a daze, I looked at Liz Lott at the screen.
リーゼロって、お前の見ている景色は本物か。
Now, what he said, like, her name, I don't even know how he's, like, the sounds that came out of his mouth do not match the letters I'm seeing on the screen. Am I, like, crazy for thinking that? Keeping my voice low to avoid being overheard, I whispered that absentmindedly. I thought about something like this several times in the past. The world I was looking at right now, Baselard, was the world Liz Lott lived in. Might be real for her, but from my perspective, it was fake. Which meant that the world I lived in now was seen as fake from the point of view of the person controlling me. However, just as Liz Lott couldn't perceive me as a higher being, I also couldn't perceive that person controlling me as a higher being. I wondered if Liz Lott was thinking the same thing I was thinking. At the very least, she couldn't move on her own. I had to interfere in order for her to move. So what about me? Maybe I, too, couldn't get up from the recliner without interference from the person controlling me? Yeah, that's kind of true. It's called the brain. Here's the thing. You got to remember, we are our brain. Everything that's thinking and being is up here. So you can think of us really as being mecha. Our bodies are mech suits for our brains. That's just how it works. That's just reality. We manipulate, and like it's like our body exists. Like if you like damage a person's brain, like sever like the brain stem from the rest of the brain, it essentially like detaches all thought from the bodily functions. But as long as the top of the brain stem is there, you'll still keep your automations. Like you'll keep breathing, your muscles will keep you like relatively in place. Like you'll probably be like all relaxed, but like you'll be like your body's primed or ready to go. It just has no instructions, you know? A puppet with its strings cut. But it's still like functional. It's still keeping itself alive. So, you know, that's kind of the way it is. Again, humans are just mech suits with a brain as the pilot. To test this, I tried to stand up. Did it with ease. After that, I tried sitting down. Took no effort. But this sequence of events, was it really my own volition? Or was it the result of someone's interference? I had no way of knowing.
Eh?
I heard the sound from the partition door to the private room being opened behind me. At the same time, I felt someone come in. Oh, fetch. Startled, I turned around. Oh, it's you! Kusunoki Yua. I was so terrified, I was about to scream. Oh, that's terrifying. She looks really scary right now. But Yua's hand quickly covered my mouth. Her hand was hot. The scent of Yua's sweat infiltrated my nose.
黙って。声を出さないで。出さないって約束して。約束してくれるよね。しないなんて言わないよね。
What's happening?
約束して。
What's happening?
するでしょ。するの。
She's acting like the Yua we've seen.
お願い。
Is this another delusion? In this small private room, the only way out was blocked by Yua. The next thing I knew, my shoulders were being held down with such incredible force I couldn't even get up from the seat. See, like, this is terrifying. Should we do a bad delusion, or do we dare a good one? It seems weird to go against, like, the feeling here. But part of me makes me think that's why we should. Yua's cold gaze pierced through me at some point blank range. I couldn't help but look away. My eyes fell on the 3 girl froggies attached to the bag she was carrying on her shoulder.
いい。声を出さないで。
Don't make a sound. If I didn't do as he said, you would kill me. Believing that would happen, I didn't resist and just nodded along. Right.
好き。
Right, sure.
好きなの。
Right.
分かって。大好き。 分かってよ。私のものになって。お願い。
I thought that confessions were supposed to be romantic, heart trending, and happy, but this wasn't like that. It was terrifying. Every word sent chills down my spine. In a situation like this, I'd normally confess my love as well, but here I felt like I was being signing my own death sentence if I did. That's funny. He legitimately seems to think that if someone confesses to you, his immediate response would be like, I love you too. It's like, bro, like, it's a two-way street. I don't know if that's ever happened to you. Have you ever had someone confess to you that you just had no feelings for in that regard? Because that's happened to me. I can think of like one or two overt cases where they basically confessed to me, like essentially like maybe not this straightforward, but like confessions, and I had to turn them down. But there were probably a couple others where people clearly liked me, and I kind of gave them that, like, I essentially friend zoned them, where I'm like, I'm so glad to have you as a friend, you know, like kind of let them know, like, look, I have boundaries I'm putting here for our relationship. So yeah, I've been through that before. But I like how he believes, like, the first girl who seems to genuinely confess to him, he'd be like, of course I love you too. That's so interesting. I had no choice but to be clear and refuse. This girl's nothing more than a stalker. If I didn't refuse her here and now, I'd be totally fetched. I forcefully shook off Yua's hand. Yua's expression became tense as if in shock. She hung her head and her demeanor instantly turned timid. Now I wish I hadn't done a delusion, because I'm not sure if that's real or not. I feel like the delusions have been less like delusional, and it's like we think it's a delusion, but it's just real.
Sayonara, Nishijo-kun.
She pulled herself away and turned her back on me. Her shoulders drooped. And then she shakily walked out of the private room. I'd said it. I had said it. Seeing Yua crying like that actually made me feel relieved. I couldn't help but not be happy that I'd finally been freed of that stalker, so much so that I unconsciously struck a victory pose. Oh. Only to suddenly come back to myself. Since life was never that easy, Yua was right in front of me, covering my mouth. Saved you? Or loved you? Is she actually saying, like, I've always loved you? She was murmuring something in a quiet whisper. I hadn't heard what she'd said at all. I'd been busy escaping from reality. How nice it would be if that delusion had been real. With no way for my wish to come true, you would continue to talk. Oh. I think she did say she wants to save us. Because she's like, that's what she's saying. She's like saying, I don't want you to be hurt. Because, like, she feels like we have that, like, dissociative disorder, like where we have multiple personalities. But she's also worried we're going to hurt other people. What was she talking about? She was talking as if she knew everything about me. Despite the fact that we hadn't ever spent 24 hours together. Just what the heck would this girl know about me? Well, was this just another one of her signature back crap insane idea delusions? I shudder ran through me and I started flailing my arms and legs, but even so, Yua didn't let go. If this went on for much longer, this girl might actually kill me. Had Shogun given up on trying to trap me and had just sent Yua as an assassin instead? I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. The tone of her voice was meek, but the power behind Yua's hand as she held me down was so strong, even if I tried to resist, she wouldn't budge an inch. I couldn't believe that such slender hands could be so powerful. Yua inched her face closer and closer to mine. I desperately turned my head away. That was when I noticed Yua's hands were trembling. Or was it just that my hands were shaking so much it made it look like hers were too? While I pondered that, something unbelievable came out of her mouth. Yeah, okay, I think that's her thing. What?
でもそれも私には理解できます。西条くんに自覚があるはずないから。
Okay. No, knowing what?
あなたは
Yua's eyes shone with sorrow. You're the NewGen killer. Even though she had been staring at me intently until now, she suddenly cast her eyes downward.
DIT 多重人格なんです。
Oh. I had multiple personalities.
最初はあなたのこと警察に突き出すつもりでした。
Yeah, so she's essentially explaining her theory. And she thinks about it, and the thing is, like, the problem with this is, oh, I wonder if that's gonna be the case. Is every girl gonna have a different theory about what's happening? So Sena believes in, like, the simulation and glitches in the Matrix, right? Yua believes that he has multiple personalities and that he has a latent personality that is more confident and also a killer. And the thing is, Rimi kind of supports that, because if Rimi was at that murder scene and was happy to be there, was a part of it, she probably is really friends with the alternate personality. So, like, the alternate personality, like, position is seeming stronger. And the other idea, too, is, like, what if they're all true? What if it's both true? Anyway. Despite how confused I was, Yua continued to talk.
それが無理ならこの手でとも思ってました。だけどあなたのこと調べていくうちにあなたも苦しんでるんだって分かって。
The eyes behind Yua's glasses once again took a hold of me. They pleaded with me. And no matter how hard I tried to see it as something else, I couldn't see her as anything other than genuinely worried about me. And that horrified me.
私あなたを助けたい。
This girl's delusions were getting out of control. What was she saying about what she was saying was totally insane. Or was it? Was I really insane?
だから病院に行きましょう。
Interesting. I didn't truly know myself, understand myself. I had posted in a chat room under a handle Shogun without knowing it. Even though I had no memory of it, I had become friends with a girl named Rimi. The other thing too is, like, the posting a Shogun thing, he keeps trying to dismiss it, but the problem is he looked at the logs in hindsight, and it absolutely was him posting a conversation at 2 different times with himself. The order appearing in his mind and memory to stagger like a conversation, but in reality, if you went back into logs, it was like block Shogun, block him, and, like, it makes no sense otherwise. It wasn't just me sleepwalking, and it wasn't some higher being controlling me. Maybe the person controlling me from inside my head literally was inside my head. It wasn't me. I wasn't me. I was a different personality. I had multiple personalities. My head hurt. The throbbing, stabbing pain ripped through it. That wasn't possible. The entire thing was bullcrap. Who would ever believe that? I too was yet another one of Yua's delusions. She was my enemy. She was impeding my way of life. She was trying to trap me. She was trying to destroy my mind. Even the hospital itself was under Shogun's reign. The only person I trusted, Dr. Takashina, had disappeared in such a sudden, inexplicable manner. Shogun must have made him disappear, and if I did what Yua said, he'd make me disappear too. I don't believe her. It's not true. 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 Yeah, he's just going for it. Oh boy. I was struck in my own head. I shoved Yua. I was stuck in my own head. I shoved Yua off me with every ounce of strength I could muster. Slamming into the wooden sliding door behind her, Yua slumped down to the floor with a grimace. Finally freed from Yua's grasp, I grabbed my bag, stepped over Yua's body, and made for the exit. Still crumpled on the floor, Yua grabbed my ankle. Her hair was disheveled and her glasses were falling off her face, but she made no effort to fix them. Seeing her cling so desperately to me terrified me so much, a pathetic scream escaped from my mouth. She was my enemy, one of Shogun's underlings. I won't be deceived. I won't be deceived by you ever again. I shouted as loud as I could, and Yua quickly let go of me. In that window, I bolted out of the room. I tore a 5,000 yen bill from my wallet and slammed it down the counter in front of the dumbfounded receptionist. And then, without getting my change, I burst into the elevator leading outside. I nearly tumbled out of the elevator as I burst outside. The sun was already setting. I examined my surroundings. There were people everywhere. Run. Doesn't matter where. Just run. My base wasn't safe. She was following me. I had no idea where to even go, but I started running anyway. Thinking that Yua might get off another elevator any moment, that she might be threatening me again with that ice-cold voice of hers. I didn't want to stay there for even a second longer. Problem is, she probably now will go to the police. I looked behind me over and over again, but I kept on running, regardless of what I saw. The pedestrians were all in the way. I bumped into a businessman and a DQN-esque high school girl. When that happened, I was showered with curses. Wait. Businessman with a high school girl? Either that's like a family thing, or that's super sus. But I still didn't stop. I just kept on running. It hurt to breathe. I'd picked some random A road without thinking and still had no idea where I was running. I had to stop to catch my breath. I checked the scenery around where I was standing. It was in front of Maruchi, which meant I couldn't take shelter in Miyashita Park. It would take quite a break. I would take a quick break there, then I would run somewhere further away. If I went to Yoyogi Park, there would be plenty of places to hide, so I could spend the night there. I couldn't help but wonder what was behind me. Didn't see any signs of Yua. However, I wouldn't be surprised if she appeared in front of me at any second now, complete with the most terrifying demonic expression I'd ever encountered. I think it's interesting that he's literally considering spending the night in the park, which, granted, if he's never done that, it might sound like a reasonable idea until he probably tries it. I think I would just go home. Like, home? Yeah, he's annoyed by his sister and his family. But, like, he thinks he's being hunted potentially to death. Go home! My instincts screamed at me. Run, you need to run. The great king of terror has chosen this city. Exhausted, I weakly sat down on the pavement in Miyashita Park overpass. I'd run way too much. My throat was dying. I wanted to drink a nice ice-cold cola. But I didn't see any vending machines nearby. Maybe I was okay now that I'd come this far. No, I couldn't be careless. I still had to be fully aware of my surroundings. There should only be a few people in Miyashita Park at night, or at least that was what I expected, but much to my surprise, that wasn't the case. There was a businessman walking briskly through the park, like using it as a shortcut, an older man sitting on a bench messing with a cell phone. Several homeless people sitting around absentmindedly, and lastly, a person wearing blue talking to one of them, a police officer. The police. I gulped audibly. I remembered that I'd been questioned by a pair of detectives a while ago. We did a good one, let's do a bad one. Hadn't heard a single thing from them since. They'd said they were going to guard the area surrounding my base, but there was no sign of them following through on it. Although, according to Misumi-kun, they apparently come to investigate Suimi. Those two detectives, what were their names again? I couldn't remember. I told both of them the truth about what I'd witnessed at the scene of the crucifixion, but in hindsight I couldn't help but think that they'd clearly been looking at me with suspicion as I did. Right as I thought that, the policeman who had been talking to the homeless man glanced at me, or at least that's how I felt. Oh no. Terrifying thoughts ran through my head. I sat up, looked around the park once again. Interesting, he's not doing the wibbles, so maybe we're not in a delusion. The man who had been sitting on the bench while staring at his cell phone was taking quick glances at me, or at least that's what it felt like. Oh, so we're having a paranoid break. Right then, a man with a stern face entered the park and sat down on the pipish fence, opened a newspaper, and started reading. In the dark place with next to no streetlights. A man, seemingly a businessman who had been walking quickly through the park, was now standing at the edge of the overpass, gazing down at the street below. The policeman who had been talking to the homeless man was now looking at me while contacting someone on his police radio. Cold sweat crept down my back. No. Were these guys cops? Yeah, they might be agents, or the weird like company that was like doing readings. They could be that, or they could be operatives. But it'd be weird if they were operatives that he ran to a random park that they all were here. I think this is the delusion. It's just not as obvious a one. Maybe they were tailing me. If that were true, I was completely surrounded. Yua had already made up her mind to decide that I was a murderer, and then, based on her delusion, she'd probably gone and reported it to the police. I couldn't help but murder that out loud, albeit at a volume low enough that no one could hear me. Was this another part of Shogun's evil plan? I didn't do it. I didn't kill anyone. I'm not the murderer. Why should I, a coward who couldn't talk to people worth crap, be treated like a murderer and then subsequently chased by the police? Why did I have to get caught up in Yua's insane delusional bullcrap? Regardless, I couldn't stay here. My chest still hadn't stopped pounding and it hurt to breathe, but I still had to get out of here. I made my way over the overpass, trying my best to look as natural as possible. Right in front of me was a staircase leading to down to Mejidori. I'd go down it, then escape using the road. As I reached the middle of the overpass, a new figure appeared on the stairs. It was a woman, and judging from the suit, an office worker. She was holding a cell phone to her ear and talking with a blank expression on her face as she walked up the stairs. Could she be a detective too? I passed by her, my heart pounding the entire time.
その目誰の目
Oh, fetch!
っていう T シャツが流行ってるわよ。
Ugh.
今度の日曜日に買いに行くわ。原宿の竹下通りに売っているから。
I felt really uncomfortable. Her speaking style was really awkward. It felt so strangely theatrical. Who the hell was she talking to anyway? Who was on the other end of the phone? Was she even talking to anyone at all? But in the end, the woman took no action against me. And finally made it to the stairs and was within relative ease. Upon reaching them, I looked back toward the park. The cop wasn't following me. He was standing in the same place as before, still talking to the police radio. One of the homeless people who had been sitting on the ground was starting to get up, and none of the other homeless people were moving. But then, before I knew it, the man on the bench and the man reading the newspaper both got up and started walking toward me. The two men then glanced at each other. They were exchanging looks, or at least it seemed like it. I then turned my gaze to the officer working once again. She had passed by me a few moments ago, but now she turned her head and looked at me. The second our eyes met, she turned back away at the start. Her cell phone was still held up to her ear, but she wasn't speaking anymore. I was hit with an amount of fear that I had never experienced before, and I immediately bolted down the stairs. As I ran down Mejidori towards the station, I looked up at the overpass. The office worker was leaning over the railing and pointing at me. And it wasn't just her. Two men were sprinting across the overpass. Oh, fetch. They really were cops. All of them were cops. Crap, crap, crap. This was all Yua's fault. She'd set me up. Should I just tell them it was innocent? But even if I did, I couldn't get away from the fact that I was literally running away from the police right now. Besides, I was sure the police would find some way to pin it on me regardless. They would never believe an otaku freak like me. I didn't have time to think about what would happen next. For now, I just needed to get away from Yua and the police. That was the sole thought occupying my mind. I passed under the pedestrian overpass and ran up the stairs leading to it. There were people everywhere, all of them blocking my path. It felt as if each and every one of them were deliberately getting in my way, like they were all having some sort of malicious intent. Everyone looked like they could be cops. It was this close to completely panicking. I looked behind me, saw someone sprinting after me. I caught a glimpse of a person cutting through the crowd just like I was. It was one of the people that I'd seen in the park. I didn't know who it was. It didn't matter. They were following me regardless. I was horrified. If I got caught, my life would be over. I would be falsely accused of a crime I didn't commit, sentenced to death, locked up in a high-security prison for decades and decades, and then after I finished enduring that living hell, I would finally be told, alrighty then, your number's up. Time for you to die. Didn't want that. Wouldn't be able to handle that. I didn't want to live like that. Even if I somehow managed to prove that it was false accusation, once I was branded a criminal, it would never go away. Everyone around me would look at me suspiciously for the rest of my life. I didn't want that. I hadn't even done anything. I turned onto a small street that was completely deserted and kept running as hard as I could. But I had been running ever since I'd left at cafe and still hadn't been able to catch my breath. My lungs were begging for oxygen. My legs were shaking with fatigue. I hated myself for not exercising more, but it was far too late for that regardless. Finally, I couldn't run anymore, so I doubled over and gripped my knees with my hands. Poor guy. The place where I'd stopped looked familiar. The distinctively red brick walls paired with the gigantic backlit sign that read Gigantus. I've been here before with Misumi-kun. We come here to see the Phantasm concert, or to be more specific, to see their lead singer Fez. But now the place was quiet and empty, the only other light being from the vending machine light dimly illuminating my surroundings. Frustrated that my breathing still hadn't got back to normal, I looked back toward the road I'd sprinted down. The street was dimly lit and narrow. As the Tokyo Line train slowly passed by directly above me, despite the striking glow of the light leaking from the windows in the train, even it didn't reach the streets below. I stared at the road in front of me. I wonder if I'd managed to lose them. It being you and the police were it was too dark for me to tell for sure.
私についてきて。
Oh, is that Fez? Suddenly, I heard a woman's voice in my ear, and I let out a pathetic scream before toppling to the ground. It is! It was Fez, dressed in a flashy outfit as she would wear to a concert. As she quietly looked down at me from the darkness, and eruptive energy that she'd given off while she was on stage was now completely absent, making her appear almost transient, like she might disappear at any moment. Because of the darkness, I couldn't see her expression. As my mind wandered to my surprise, Fez gently held her hand out to me.
だって、早く。
Her tone was her voice was dispassionate, but I could tell that she wasn't going to let me argue with her. Still holding out her hand, Fez slowly craned her neck, then narrowed her eyes as if she'd seen through the darkness.
逃げないと。
Why? Didn't she know that I'd been running from you and the police? I was freaked out for a second, but then I knew right now salvation was almost within my grasp. That was why, as if I was clinging to my only hope left, I took her hand. Her hand was cold to the touch. Come, mine do that. I almost always have cold hands. Right as I stood up, Fez started running. As I was already utterly exhausted, I felt incredible resentment, but I knew that if I hadn't been for Fez, I would have never been able to stand up again, and the police would have likely caught up with me. I still wanted to quench my dying thirst in some way, but I knew I couldn't afford to. Fez pulled me by the hand and led us forward. We entered a narrow alleyway and made a turn after our various intersections. I had no idea where I was running to. I wasn't even familiar with the layout of Shibuya. I had no choice but to follow Fez the entire time. I nearly entertained the idea that this could be another trap by Shogun, but I shook that thought from my head. Even if Fez was another of Shogun's underlings, there was nothing I could do about it. My legs were heavy with lactic acid, and I was starting to feel lightheaded, probably because my brain hadn't been getting enough oxygen due to all the running. It was this close to crying out and saying I couldn't run anymore. In fact, I may or may not have said it several times unconsciously. But even so, Fez never once looked back at me. She just kept on going. Before I knew it, I found myself on a road where the Shoto Expressway ran overhead. Shibuya Station was only a little bit further away, but there was barely any people around. Without a shred of hesitation, Fez started to head toward the stairs that led into the gaping maw of the underground. Upon reaching the bottom of the stairs, she finally came to a stop. I let go of Fez's hand and doubled over on the stairs, gasping for breath. I wondered how much running I'd done today. I didn't think I'd ever exercised so much in my entire life. She's exhausted too. She's not in shape either. For a while, the only sound present in the dim, dreary underground tunnel were the sounds of me and Fez's breathing. I looked up at the entrance where we had just come down from, but there was no sign of our pursuers. I guess that meant we'd managed to escape somehow. That aside, that was my first time learning that this underground passageway even existed. On top of that, even though it was fairly close to the station, there wasn't a single person passing through it. One of the fluorescent lights that illuminated the tunnel was on its last legs, flickering on and off without end. There was a faint smell of rotting garbage in the air. It was a place that symbolized the underground side of Shibuya. If someone were to attack me here, even if I screamed as loud as I could, it may not even reach outside. That was not a place I'd ever want to come alone. Negative, positive, or neutral? Still breathing heavily, I slowly examined Fez's profile. You know what? Let's go for a green one. This seems like it might be a fun one. She was a charismatic songstress who captivated the youth of Shibuya. People called her a prophet. And now, that very same Fez was here alone with an otaku freak piece of crap like me. Wasn't sure what to make of it. Her forehead was beating with sweat, with several drops running down her cheeks. She was wiping it off with the back of her hand. Her breasts, exposed through her camisole, rose and fell with every breath she took. Now, it says exposed. I'm guessing it just means that they're, like, shapely proportion, like she has a form-fitting outfit on. That's my guess, because I doubt it's literally exposed. A glimpse providing healthy eroticism and an atmosphere flowing with ennui. Moe didn't do it justice. The best and only possible word befitting her was erotic. Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. Buckle up, everyone. The camisole was the cross-shaped design was downright criminal. And I couldn't help but think that it didn't look like she was wearing a bra underneath. Why did I do this? Why did I do this? Maybe she really wasn't wearing a bra. That would be very interesting, I think. What kind of underwear did Fez usually wear, I wondered. Nice to know that the male mind goes to these places even post-traumatic running for your life. Probably the sexy kind, like black or red. But personally, I'd want them to be a nice, clean white. Why? Wait, what kind of stupid crap was I thinking about? Did I forget the situation I was in? Thank you, Taku.
追われてたわね。
Yeah.
警察？
I nodded in response. It wasn't just the police, Yua was following me too, but I was too exhausted to tell her that.
私も同じ。
Huh? What was that supposed to mean?
私が書いた歌詞と、なんとかって呼ばれてる事件との関係について。だって。
Right, she's being investigated too.
しつこく聞かれたわ。
NewGen. The lyrics the Fez had written matched up with that string of incidents. That was why all her sheep wouldn't shut up with all the rumors. She'd been saying that she was a prophet.
私、疑われてるみたい。
As the NewGen criminal? I thought the same thing back when I'd first heard the lyrics. Hell, I'd even thought that Fez herself was Shogun. But considering the fact that she'd saved me, she probably wasn't. Putting all that aside, I wondered what Fez was even there. Her saving me must have been just a coincidence. Yeah, it had to be. I mean, I'd been right in front of the concert venue, so there was probably just another concert today.
君が追われてるのは、なぜ？何か悪いことでもしたの？
チクられた。あの女、僕のことチクったんだ。ニュージェネの犯人にされる。
Yo is starting to set me up. Gosh darn it, Shogun and the girl were going to ruin my life.
そう。容疑者候補ね。私たち。
Yeah, we're kind of literally in the same boat. Why does that make you happy? Why was she laughing?
僕は無実だ!
I yelled frantically, my voice reverberating loudly through the underpass, but I couldn't stop now.
事件を目撃しただけだ。証拠品を勝手に持ち帰っちゃったけど、それだけ。僕殺してない。
それなら。
Fez whispered, returning to her original dispassionate voice.
きっとそれは導きなのよ。
The guidance.
大いなる存在による。
Oh my gosh, she thinks the same thing. It's like this. I was right. I kind of getting that feeling that each of the girls probably has a different opinion about what's happening. Another fetching mental case? Another gosh darn Chunibyo?
君の見たものが事実だったか幻だったかは些細なこと。
That horrible scene. Was there any possibility that it had all been just an illusion? That it felt so real.
君が今抱いている苦しみや怒りは必要なものだったということよ。
She's so happy. What is she saying? I was utterly dejected. I'd been slightly suspicious back at the concert. I'd been turned out to be right. Fez really was a total schizo freak. They say there's a fine line between genius and insanity, but this is pushing it.
だから早く見つけて剣を見つけて。
I was taken aback. That was what Fez had told me back when we'd met at school. If you do, you'll be granted salvation. She'd said this before. Aside from the police, what scared me the most was Shogun and his underlings. I had no idea why, but they were all trying to trap me, and they all clearly malicious intent. In order to save myself from them, in order to protect myself, I needed...
理想度。
そうよ。
Fez's lips twisted into the shape of a smile.
勉強したみたいね。
それなら手に入れた。僕は理想度も持ってる。今家に。
知ってるわ。
She knew. How did she know?
見たから。君が渋谷のど真ん中を歩いていたのを。
Right.
大きなおもちゃを抱きしめて恥ずかしそうにしてたわね。
She's so happy about it. She's talking about the day I brought the D-sword? Ah, Fez had seen me. Fetch my life. Wait a minute. What did she just said?
おもちゃ。
The smile had already disappeared from Fez's face. She glanced at my face and let out a small sigh. Her sigh of ennui, Her aloofness was so pure it made me feel uneasy.
偽物だと思うわ。あなたの買った剣は。
I wasn't even that surprised. I'd expected it, honestly. The sword I'd bought was way too cheap compared to the one Sena had. It didn't even glow. Besides, the idea that the sword would supposedly bring me salvation was being sold for 10,000 yen alongside sex toys was the least anime thing possible. I don't know, though. That actually sounds kind of anime. So yeah, I wasn't surprised. Instead, I felt a furious surge of anger well up inside me. Anger that the gloomy shopkeeper had tricked me. Anger myself for being so pathetic I'd be tricked so easily. Anger at Fez for saying nothing meaningful in the slightest intent, so instead of just giving me a straightforward answer.
じゃあ
I stood up and moved closer to Fez. Normally, I would never do something like that, but I was desperate. I'd been chased by Yua, the police, only a few moments ago, and I was absolutely terrified. Not only that, but in the past month or so, I'd experienced countless bad thoughts. It was all too much for me. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to get my hands on a sword so I could get back to my peaceful way of life.
教えてよ理想のどうやって手に入れるのか
Fez's expression stiffened, then she turned to me.
見て。
Oh. She suddenly thrust a palm of her right hand out in front of me. Stopping me from coming any closer, Fez curled her hand into a fist. And upon swinging her hand behind her in a motion resembling a back fist, together with a sound akin to that of glass breaking, the empty space crackled, and then it shattered. My eyes went wide. I was speechless. Fez stared at me. Her expression had not changed in the slightest. Within the cracks of the shattered space was a deep darkness spreading wide. Within her hand, buried between the fissure, Fez pulled her hand back toward her with tremendous force. Oh, that's so cool! Oh my gosh. That's freaking awesome. And now within that hand was a giant sword. Okay. So, one of the fun, I've always, there's something cool about swords, especially big, overpowerful swords appearing out of nowhere. If you've never read it, please read the Stormlight Archive. The concept is in there. It's shard blades. They're overmassive swords that aren't as heavy as they look, that cut straight through solid matter and can obliterate souls on contact. Like, you hit someone, it can, it doesn't cut through flesh, but it can disassociate the flesh, making it useless. And if you hit someone in the spine, it kills their soul and makes their eyes burn out. They're called shard blades, and they're cool. They're amazing because you can bond them to yourself, and you're always equipped with them because you could summon them to yourself, and all it takes is 10 heartbeats. Specifically, 10 heartbeats for you, which was another fun idea it plays with, because it says, if you summon it when you're calm, it takes longer than when you're in a panicked mood or when you feel like you need it desperately. It arrives 10 exact heartbeats, and it just pierces your hand and you fight with it. Oh, it's so cool. It's so cool. Just the concept of giant swords is just so fun.
そうだ
The fissure in the empty space was repaired in an instant. The cracks disappeared as if nothing had ever happened. It all happened in a span of a few seconds. Had that been a magic trick? Was what I was seeing just a delusion? It was far too removed from reality. I couldn't believe what just happened right in front of me. That was fantasy, a fantasy anime.
この剣は命運を握るもの。
Oh, that sword. Look at that design. Look at that. Where's the... Come on, respond to me. It was the same one she'd been wielding at the concert. It was the same one I'd mistaken for a microphone stand. Its shape almost looked like a battleship ripped straight from a sci-fi anime. Look at that. Yeah, it looks like a spaceship.
この剣は嘆きを収束させたもの。
There was no straight lines to be found on it. And yet it appeared incredibly sharp. Incredibly beautiful. Incredibly sinister.
この剣は超越した場所に干渉するためのもの。
Transcendental place. And that if you so much as touched it, your finger would be severed from the bone.
超越した場所って
I was mesmerized. Her D-sword utterly captivated me. which was why I asked her that without thinking.
異空間のようなもの。
It's freaking... Oh boy, we're getting answers tonight! Dang, look at that profile though. She looks great. Oh boy, info dump time. This is definitely an anime at this point.
同一次元上にあるもう一つの可能性、あるいは妄想。
A delusion? Yeah, a delusion.
言い方にあんまり意味はないわ。唯一確かなのはこの剣もその領域に存在しているということ。
Okay. So maybe the concept they're kind of working for is that delusions are, if you delude well enough, you can kind of puncture through space-time and rip and open up into another dimension where that delusion is real. Like the delusions that you have in your mind are like other parallel worlds rubbing up against your thoughts, like kind of wearing the barrier thin. And if you get it thin enough through your own like powerful imagination, you can manifest it into this realm. That might be what the errors are. That might be what the swords are. They are things that exist in an actual world line somewhere that your personal delusions can bring to the surface. Man, of all the worlds and all the storylines I've ever come across, this might be the one that if I were in it, I could almost see myself actually being a participating member, because if that translation of her theory combining with Sena's theory is true, my imagination's always been one of the most like strongest parts of me. I've never considered it a delusion because I don't feel like it's interfered with my life too much, but I do really see and picture these things in my head. I have dreams that are so vivid and so realistic that I've genuinely been convinced that they were real until I wake up. And I feel everything in my dreams, sensations, temperature, everything. And so like a part of me feels like I could have been one of these characters if that's all it takes, is like a reason to delude hard enough that you actually manifest it in reality. I could see that being something I could possibly do if it were real. That's crazy. So in other words, she was saying that her D-sword was a product of her delusions. Did that mean that supernatural phenomena I'd seen before had been delusions? Had they not been real?
そんなのありえない。
そう。
If it was delusion, then why was I seeing Fez's sword right now?
言葉に引きずられてはダメよ。後ろを振り返ってみて。
Yeah. I was baffled by Fez's request, but I complied anyway. Behind me was a flight of stairs, and on those stairs... What the fetch? What? What? Was Fez wearing only white lingerie? What? Wait, you're saying that because he imagined her in white underwear, he pulled her from a different reality in white... What? Yeah! What? Fez was standing right beside me. Fez was standing on the stairs right in front of me. Two of the same person, the same place. And not only that, but one of them was incredibly sexy, wearing only her underwear. Completely and utterly flustered, I relentlessly snapped back and forth between the two Fezes over and over again, comparing them. And if she sees the other version of her, what on earth does that mean for her? Like, gosh darn it. Like, she seems oddly unfazed by this. They were exactly the same, right down to their facial features, height, and hairstyles. The only difference were their clothes and whether or not they were carrying a sword. They weren't twins or anything like that. They didn't just look alike. They were one and the same. I was used to seeing girls in their underwear in Naroge, but here I couldn't handle it for some reason. I wonder why. I'd run into Nanami's smelly, gosh darn it, stained underwear countless times, so you'd think it would be no big deal, but for whatever reason, I couldn't get myself to follow that line of logic. Fez was standing in the middle of this disgusting underpass, only in her underwear. I felt like I was about to lose my mind from how unbelievable the situation was. Even though I knew I shouldn't look at her, I couldn't help but feel like this was close to stealing a glance anyway. I took an insane amount of willpower to keep my eyes down.
ごめん。
I automatically apologized. Because I knew that only a few minutes ago I'd had a delusion about this very thing. Fez was wearing white lingerie.
君が望んだ妄想よ。
Oh, fetch. The two Fezzes said the same thing at the same time, as if they could see right through me. I jumped, startled. I feel like my face rapidly turning red. Yeah, like, man, that's awkward. I needed an excuse. I need a way out of this. If a 3D girl labeled me as a pervert, it'd be over. I'd be socially obliterated. Okay, wait. While that may be important, the more pressing matter is, what the hell is happening? Yeah, that's weird. Okay. All right, we're going to stop here. We're going to stop here. We're going to stop here. Oh, that's a lot. We've had a lot happen there. Oh, I can't wait to see how that goes out. Because I wonder if we're going to like cut away and have like him having got home, or if we're going to be able to have a conversation with Fez. Because I feel like we can actually get some answers. I'm dying for the answers. But okay, this is making more sense. If his delusions are things that he manifests because they feel so real to him that they start becoming real, that he starts actually like making them happen in real life, that is really interesting, and it would explain a lot. The terrifying thing, though, is it might also explain the murders and his other personality and all that stuff. Like, there's a lot here that could be going on. So I want to know. I want to know more. I want to know more. Oh, I said for a while ago this game had me hooked. Like, I was intrigued. I can't. I have to know now. I have to know. I have to see how this ends up because I need to know what's happening and how it works. I've got to figure out what the writers are going for here because this is really cool. Oh, that's so fun. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Underwear aside, I mean, that was enjoyable as well, but it's like the context, of course, is always weird, but like just that whole sequence, everything that's been happening is so interesting. Oh, I'm so intrigued. I can't wait to figure out more. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for recommending this series. Very, very happy I'm playing it now. Very curious to see where it's going to go from here and how this is all going to play out. But now that we're starting to get some answers, I wonder if we're going to start understanding, like, will he be able to get a sword? Is he going to learn how to manipulate this power? Because if he can, what will that mean? What will he be able to do? What are its limitations? I'm so excited. I always love learning about magic systems, sci-fi, like technology. I love learning about creative applications of ideas and learning how they fit in the universe that they're displayed in. That stuff's always been so fun for me. And I really like, it feels like I'm exploring. I'm almost like a scientist jumping from world to world, hopping from world to world, and just taking it all in. God, how cool would that be? That's essentially what I could do. It's like I'm jumping into these fantasy worlds and experiencing them and like trying to like understand them and incorporate them into what I would imagine. Like, what if I was actually there? What it would be like? Oh, this one's really fun. This is so cool. Anyway, I really should end. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to the patrons and members who support the channel, help to not only pick this game, but also just help the channel grow. I'm really happy to have you here. Happy Friday for everybody. Thank you for watching this series. It's always a pleasure having you here. That means more than anything. It's just someone who's watching, who's participating and sharing these moments. I'm grateful for you. Thank you so much for being here and spending your time. And yeah, stick around, hang out in the Discord, send me recommendations of games you want me to play in the future, all that good stuff. I'm really happy to hear it. So, but yeah, for now, let's just keep enjoying Chaos Head and see how this all plans out. And I'm just stoked. I'm just stoked to see more. But thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed. Until next video, watch me. Have to see me next. I'll see you there.